In 2014, a man arranges meetings with Jeffrey Epstein so that Epstein can provide him with career advice. And it worked, because years later, this man became director of the CIA. A former prime minister of Israel slipped away from his security just to visit the island, and it appears that Bill Gates might have had an affair with a Russian spy that Epstein sponsored. So everything about this guy has been fuel for more and more conspiracy theories. So today, I just want to talk about the new facts I discovered and how they compare with things we can more easily confirm. For instance, in 2014, the Deputy Secretary of State, William J. Burns, had 3 scheduled meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. And according to a former NSA agent, John Schindler, these meetings were set up for Jeffrey to give William career advice. And obviously the main problem with this is that William J. Burns was already the Deputy Secretary of State, not even mentioning the fact that he had been promoted to the highest possible rank in the U.S. Foreign Service, a promotion that has been awarded to less than 70 people in the 101 years the U.S. Foreign Service has existed. Not even counting that, he was the Deputy Secretary of State, one of the highest positions in U.S. government. What career advice or advancement could he have possibly needed? He graduated from Oxford and had already been an ambassador for over 20 years at this point. What would a man nearly at the top of the executive branch of government need from Epstein? And even if this actual NSA agent isn't telling the truth and these meetings weren't about his career, Epstein was still already a registered sex offender by this time. And I don't think I need to tell you, but even if you were a tax-paying combat veteran, you'd have an extremely hard time even attempting to schedule a meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State. And that's just you trying to meet in his office. But according to the Wall Street Journal, although Burns and Epstein did meet in Washington, they also had another meeting at Epstein's house in Manhattan. Just imagine, you're the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. What would cause you to fly from Washington, D.C. to New York City to meet with a sex offender? Money or something more powerful than money? And as I said at the beginning, a few years after this meeting, Burns became the director of the CIA. So I guess if he did get any advice, it must have worked pretty well. But okay, let's keep going. Catherine Rumler, at least I think I'm saying it right, is a woman who worked as the White House counsel under Barack Obama. This means that she was a senior staff member in the Obama White House whose job was to advise the president on all legal issues concerning the president and his administration. Essentially, she was the chief legal counsel to the most powerful man in the world. But in 2014, she stepped down. The very next year, she was on Jeffrey Epstein's schedule to fly to Paris with him, as well as being scheduled in 2017 to make a stop at his home and then the island. But she states that even though she was on the schedule, she never ended up going. And while we can't confirm whether she actually went or not, by her own admission, she was in fact scheduling meetings with him. And just 3 years after her last scheduled meeting, she became the top lawyer for Goldman Sachs, which is an investment bank founded by 2 Jewish men that later became the largest investment bank by revenue in the world. Oh, and he also had a member of the Rothschild family help him find a new assistant as he was looking to hire a new woman who could speak multiple languages, a Rothschild. In case you don't know who these people are, they are a family so powerful and wealthy that one time they actually helped bail the U.S. government out of a financial crisis. You know, because they had so much money and gold. So Epstein was able to meet with the most powerful people in the world at will, because remember, it wasn't just them. He also vacationed with Prince Andrew and the Crown Princess of Norway. Every career he touched seemed to turn to gold, as at least 2 big promotions and appointments came after meeting with him, and he had a member of one of the most powerful families in the world running around trying to find him an assistant like she was an office secretary or something. And it just reminds me of the old James Bond movie Die Another Day, where even though Bond was in a foreign country, the government of that country had agents at the hotel he preferred to stay in just to make sure he got preferential treatment when he actually got there. He didn't even have to spend any actual money, and he just had this type of influence because he was a member of intelligence. And as I said, in this video, I'm not really trying to go the conspiracy route. I'm just merely pointing out the many things that don't add up unless you consider him to be a VIP in society. And this is not just about Republicans or Democrats, because Epstein was very well connected and influential with both parties. Now, a person with an official cover is different from someone with a non-official cover, since by the definition on the MI5 government website, MI5 being the British intelligence agency, a person with a non-official cover is considered illegal and operates without the typical diplomatic immunity a secret agent would have, unlike an official cover, which does have immunity. And an example of this is Ishmael Jones, which is not his real name, but Jones was a CIA operative that worked undercover for 2 decades. And when he retired, he got sued by the Department of Justice because he wrote and published a book before the CIA was able to approve it. This is an actual confirmed former CIA operative that was operating under a non-official cover. So obviously if his real identity were ever to be revealed, he'd probably face punishment somewhere. Here we have a guy who definitely avoided severe punishment and also maintained a close relationship with the former Prime Minister of Israel. In fact, this former Prime Minister wanted to visit Epstein's island so bad that he was, according to the leaked emails between the two, trying to arrange for a security team to not follow him to the island because he wanted to come alone. And he thought the island was pretty impressive. And this man was not just a former Prime Minister. He attained the highest rank in the IDF, which is a Lieutenant General, and is also one of the most decorated soldiers in Israel's history, with heavy ties to the intelligence field. Again, let's say these meetings have no ties to intelligence or blackmail. Why would the Deputy Secretary of State and future director of the CIA meet with him? Why would the legal counsel to the President of the United States and later chief legal officer of the most powerful investment bank in the world meet with him? And why would a woman who managed nearly $200 billion worth of investment funds be contacted to find him an assistant? He was a registered sex offender when all of these meetings and email correspondence took place. Was it because he was so rich that he could buy your time? Well, that might work for a politician, but a Rothschild? No. This woman was married to a billionaire at the time these emails took place. And just as further proof of how influential the Rothschilds are, Evelyn de Rothschild, from the British branch of the family, was the financial advisor to Queen Elizabeth. And he was invited by President Bill Clinton to celebrate his honeymoon by staying at the White House. So while a wealthy person can buy the audience of a governor or a senator or something like that, some of the people associated with Epstein just seem as if there was something more important than money driving their interest. In 2023, it was reported by the Wall Street Journal and The Guardian that sometime in the 2010s, Bill Gates had an affair with a young Russian woman. And this is where the actual spies come into play. The woman Gates supposedly had an affair with was Mila Antonova. Antonova is an associate of Anna Chapman. Chapman is a woman I covered in a previous video who, in 2010, was arrested by the FBI once it was discovered that she was actually a Russian spy. And Mila went to coding school, which was paid for by Jeffrey Epstein. How? Well, a guy named Boris Nikolic, who was an advisor to Bill Gates, introduced her to Epstein. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait, a girl in her 20s just suddenly gets introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by an associate of Bill Gates. Did we skip a step? Yeah, we did. You see, Mila claimed that she met Gates at a card game. Totally normal, nothing to see here.
2 years ago, I said to everyone that I'm going to meet this guy. Nobody believed me. Last year, I played against him at the same table. I didn't beat him, but I tried to kick him with my leg.
I'm sure it was just a coincidence that Bill Gates was in the same building as an associate of a Russian spy. And why did the advisor introduce her to Epstein? Well, the advisor says that he wanted to help her raise funds. Apparently, she wanted to raise $500,000 to create a tutorial on how to play bridge, which is the card game she was playing when she met Bill Gates. And then in November 2014, she was staying in an apartment provided by Epstein, but she says that she never even interacted with him during this time. Which, sure. Anyway, around this time, she supposedly had sex with Bill Gates. And since Gates went to Epstein's home in New York several times where Mila was also staying, I can only assume that this is where they had the affair. Which would make sense, because apparently, once Epstein tried to get Bill Gates to invest in a charity fund he was trying to set up and reimburse the money he spent for Mila to go to school, Gates said no, and this is when apparently the blackmail started. Because as we all know, a divorce for a guy like Bill Gates is very, very expensive. But through all this, in the interviews with Mila, she continues to claim that she had no idea why Epstein was so nice to her. And it's also interesting that when Epstein died, just months later, Bill's wife Melinda started meeting with her lawyers to hash out their divorce. And one source of concern prompting their divorce was Gates' relationship with Epstein.
Many things, but I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein.
So we have several causes for concern here. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Bill Gates' advisor was a man named Boris Nikolic, and he is responsible for getting Mila in Epstein's house, which led to her allegedly running into Bill Gates again after their totally not suspicious card game. Boris Nikolic, not the most American or Western European name one can have, you might say. Some might say his name has a similar Eastern European origin to Mila Antonova and Anna Kushchenko, which is Anna Chapman's real name. Was Bill Gates set up by not one, not two, but 3 spies? Also, Boris was named an executor of Epstein's estate. He was named as one of the 3 people that will have control over Epstein's estate. Why was an advisor of Bill Gates in Jeffrey's will? Also, Boris says he was shocked to be in the will. Which, sure buddy, This is beyond suspicious. Also, William J. Burns, the CIA director that met with Epstein, was also once the U.S. ambassador to Russia. So what does all this amount to? If I just provided all of this information and I was describing the story of an actual intelligence asset, it definitely wouldn't be hard to believe. Pretty much the only difference here is we don't have any concrete evidence that that's what was going on. But we do, however, have several things pointing to that being the case. And this is actually information that's been known for years. And what are the odds that I covered Anna Chapman only to come back and do another video covering one of her friends that also met with Jeffrey Epstein? But thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you next time, probably sooner than you think.